Eden Epstein, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm great. It's so good to connect with you. You're glowing today. I feel very ashamed about my own presence now.
Oh, please stop it.
Yeah.
You look
Um,
great.
Dude, I'm an actor, so I had to work hospitality for a long time. And, obviously with the world collapsing, it went away. But like Sweetbitter was like the most accurate show. And you were so good in that. It totally captured all the quirks and idiosyncrasies and chaos of that world. And I
Oh,
loved you in
thanks.
that piece. And I was so bummed they ended it early. I thought that thing
Oh,
really had legs, man. And you and Paul Sparks and Ella were just so good in that.
oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. And now you're on to like $200 million sets. So you're taking over on Apple C, which is coming out soon. So I'm so proud of you, man.
Oh, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
But yeah, so if it's cool with you, let's start from the beginning. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Santa Monica in California.
Wow.
Yeah, basically LA.
Parents
And
in the business or not in the business?
no, not in the business. My parents are both from the Midwest. They met going to law school at UCLA in LA, and they're both lawyers. My dad's a lawyer. Um, my mom is still a lawyer, but she sort of stopped lawyering. She really hated it. Actually, she was doing
Oh,
litigation, and it was sort of an emotional suck for her, I think.
yeah.
And so she stopped, raised me and my older brother, and when we were in high school, went back to school to become a psychotherapist, which is what she's doing now.
Wow.
So she's a talk therapist, but she also does mediation. So she's kept up her law degree, and she actually before she went to college, she took a break between high school and college. She danced professionally and did some theater, and so
Oh,
she's
so
a very
she had the
creative
arts bug.
person. Yeah.
Yeah.
And my dad's actually a very talented pianist, and he's not like he would not say that he is, but he growing up he would play Eric Satie, and
Oh man, I love
I have
Sati.
creative. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that they're creative people, but I think that it just didn't occur to them that it could be vocational and that they could actually have a life in pursuit of the arts. I don't think it really interests them fully.
So I'm curious then.
Yeah.
Questions twofold. One, early on, did they ingrain like a sense of the arts into you?
Yeah. It was really important to my mom that my brother and I go to public school, and
Me
we were
too.
really lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's so important and wonderful. Um, I had such a great education. I feel really, really fortunate. We, um, we had great public schools in Santa Monica. And so there was a big, actually really wonderful at the middle school that I went to. I went to John Adams Middle School, and they have a really great um, music program. And so when I was really little, I learned how to play piano. I didn't really like that, but then I started playing the flute, which I really loved and had a knack for. And so I did that. But then, like my first love and the first thing that my mom, I think, imbued in me as far as a love goes that both of us share is for ballet, which was something that I started when I was teeny tiny, like
Wow.
just dancing to Disney songs in tutus. And
No
then,
wonder you're so good in those fight scenes. You're coordinated.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
That was a struggle for me. We'll talk about that later, I'm
Yeah.
sure. Um, but then she took, there's a great dance studio called West Side Academy of Dance in Santa Monica where a lot of professional dancers are trained. Yvonne Mouncey, who was the headmistress when I was there, she's since passed. She was an unbelievable woman. When she was in her like 90s, she was still teaching classes and
Yeah.
demonstrating. And I trained there from the time I was, I don't know, maybe 6 until I was 18. And that was my first creative commitment that I really made and that my family absolutely encouraged in tandem with keeping up academics. And that was something that I was interested in anyways. I was a really good student and really loved school. So
That's beautiful. And then the other part of my question is, I've had a lot of guests that grew up in LA, and I feel like it goes one or two ways, because like they're I live in New York, you know, unlike,
Yeah.
you know, obviously the business is here, but in LA, you cannot escape it. Somewhere you're
Mm,
going to pass a film set, somewhere there's going to be a poster for a movie. You know what I mean? It's just like,
yeah.
it is at every Starbucks, everyone is an actor. So when you were young, did you have an awareness of the omnipotence of the business being there?
That's so interesting. I actually had a very sheltered experience from the business.
That's
Santa
awesome.
Monica, have you ever been to Santa Monica
Oh
before?
yeah, many times.
So it feels very suburban to me, at least the area where I grew up. And my whole life was on the west side. So I never really went into Hollywood. We didn't really like all my friends lived on the west side. Like I didn't I didn't feel aware that LA was LA or Hollywood growing up. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't that wasn't a part of the culture of um my school. I guess the one area where it sort of touched was there were some of the girls that danced at West Side with me had parents that were in the business,
Got
and
it.
we would do so like at our height we were dancing in high school. I was dancing like 23 hours a week with rehearsals, and that was all with going to school full time. And we would put up these shows. We would do the Nutcracker every year, and then we'd do a spring performance, which would be an amalgamation of different little ballets
So
that
it's all classical dance, not really contemporary.
yeah,
Yeah.
that was what I did. They
Yeah.
offered, oop, I'm so sorry.
All good.
Um
You're good.
okay, cool. Um so yeah, we had people come and watch us. The parents would come and watch the performances. And there were, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's totally fine.
My dad has been trying to reach me for the past couple of days, and we our text messages haven't been going through. It's really nice that he's trying to call me,
Oh,
so I
that's
appreciate it,
adorable.
but he needs to stop.
It's
Um,
okay.
um, so what was I saying? Yes. So we had parents that were in the industry that would come and watch. And I remember there were parents that came and saw me dance. And my favorite dances to do were always the ones that were character driven, where I could sort of build a character
Yeah.
around, or like where it wasn't even dance at all, where you like party scene, where it's basically
Yeah.
just like gesticulating and acting. And those are my favorites. And I had people that were in the industry sort of say, like, you should pursue acting. I think you'd be good at it. And that was the first time that it ever occurred to me that that was something
Someone
that,
else kind of set the switch in motion for
yeah,
you.
saw
Yeah.
something in me and set it in motion. And but it wasn't like I was seeing actors or seeing famous people or anything like that. It felt like a
Yeah.
very just like living anywhere.
And when that mechanism went on, were your parents receptive to it? Because I imagine you had to go to them being like, "Hey, I'd love to take a acting class or something." You know?
Yeah, I think I remember asking them for an agent, which I didn't know really what it meant. I was probably in middle school.
Yeah.
And my mom and dad, both of them, they were very adamant that I have a normal childhood.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to them for setting boundaries for me, because I
Yeah.
really did get to have um, just a normal childhood and didn't have to deal. Ballet is very brutal. There's a lot of rejection. There's a lot of um, there can be a lot of really
Black
hard things to
Swan,
hear.
corrosive. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
my studio, like they I think that compared to other studios and other stories that I've heard, it was not like an abusive environment.
Okay.
But still, you're aware of your body. You're aware of how much weight you're gaining when you hit puberty.
Yeah.
Your body changes, like, and you're aware of that in a way that maybe is not the healthiest for
Totally.
a young girl. And so, I think that though I was facing a lot of discipline and hard truths about how hard you have to work in order to achieve something, I didn't have to deal with um, what I think can be a really insidious, horrible side of an industry for a lot of kid actors. I hope that's
Yeah.
changing with Me Too and Time's Up and just more
Totally.
awareness around the way that we behave in the industry. But
I
I'm
lived
really
in North
glad.
Hollywood in Millennium Dance Studio. Man, that place was,
Oh, really?
yeah. Because my gym was adjacent to it, so I just saw some crazy stuff, man.
Oh man, that's so
Yeah,
unfortunate, because there are
yeah.
these young kids that are talented and hungry to express themselves in ways, and to be shut down or shamed or um I think it's such a disservice to the
Yeah,
spirit of the person, and ultimately to the artist that could potentially create really amazing things to share with the world.
totally.
But my parents were kind of like, once you're 18, you do whatever you want.
So what about high school? Did you do the drama, or because dance took up so much time,
No,
you
I didn't.
didn't?
It was in the back of my mind, but I was just like, I had a one dance that I really wanted to do in the Nutcracker, which was Arabian, which was this very sensual pas de deux, which means a dance between a man and a woman. And I trained and trained and trained. Had to have surgery. I injured myself and knew that I would have like one more performance before I would never be
ACL?
able to. No, I had an os trigonum is the word for it. It's basically a floating bone in your ankle joint. So every
Oh,
time I would go on point, for podcast listeners, this isn't helpful, but I'm doing something with my hands. Every time I would go on point, basically the bone would get caught in the joint, and I would have to force over it, and scar tissue built up in the joint, and I had
oh
terrible
man.
tendonitis, and it was not sustainable.
Yeah.
And so I trained as hard as I could and got as strong as I could and got to do my dance, which was the thing that I had set out to do.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. That's awesome.
It was a good thing. But after that, I was like, I'm done. And then um, I was taking ballet classes, adult ballet classes at this point, not training the 23 hours anymore, just doing it
This
to sort
this
of.
is after high school right
No,
now?
this was still in high school. This was my
Oh,
senior
okay.
year of high school.
Okay.
After I'd done my dance that I'd wanted to do, after I did Arabian, and before going to NYU. And
Oh, you
an
went to
older.
NYU? I did too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What school did you go to?
Tisch.
Oh, awesome. Okay,
Where'd you go to?
I did Gallatin. I didn't do
Oh,
Tisch.
what was
Yeah,
your focus?
I did character development and identity formation through film and theater, which sounds so
Brilliant.
pretentious and
Which you
horrible, but
get
it was great.
you get to take classes in Tisch then, right?
No, actually,
Really?
I no, yeah, yeah. I think that they sort of tried to not cross pollinate between Gallatin and Tisch. I
Yeah.
took I took acting classes outside of Tisch, but I really wanted to have a liberal arts education. I knew I wanted to act by the time I had gone to university. I knew it was this weird, Ryan, like felt like the closest thing to a spiritual. I'm not religious in any way.
Yeah, I know what you
I
mean. Me either. But the calling,
the
that
calling.
yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a power greater than you, and you're like,
You heed it. Yeah.
and it's twofold. It's like amazing, and it's like, well, this is the hardest thing ever. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
absolutely. It's
Yeah,
it's it's very daunting.
yeah.
But I just knew, even though I'd never done it before, I was like, this is what I'm going to do with my life, and I'm going to do it in a big way. And I just know that, which I was like 17. And now,
Yeah.
having done it still for not that long, I think that whatever hubris I had is definitely, I've sort of shed a lot of it. I know how hard it is. And I try to reconnect with that sort of insane confidence that you have when you're that age and you're like, I'm
Oh, it's
invincible and I can do anything.
so beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, what studio were you in at Tisch?
Strasbourg. Wait, I started in
Okay.
2008. What year did you start?
I started 2011.
Okay, so I dropped out in 2010 and came
Mm,
back in 2012. So we were probably crossing paths at Square Park and
yeah,
didn't even know it.
that's crazy. Did you live in housing?
I did for the first year. I was in Third North, and then I
Okay,
was in
yeah.
that horrible one in Carlisle and Union Square.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That
Yeah,
one's
and then I did
gross.
apartments the final 2 years.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Did
Okay,
you
cool.
what Hayden? You look like
I
you
was
were.
in Hayden,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
my
knew it.
freshman
You look
year.
like you'd be in Hayden.
I loved Hayden. I made some of my closest friends at Hayden
It doesn't
Hall.
exist anymore.
They changed it. They changed
Yeah.
it.
What? It's so
I
depressing.
I know, I know. They had really good cookies. I don't know if you ever ate in there.
Oh, I always got insomnia because Third North was like
Oh,
right by insomnia.
right, right. Oh
Yeah.
God. Those were the days, right?
Well, and like when the courtyard there, that was like in the final 2 years where they let people smoke, and then that went away.
I
That was like
know.
when it was so cool to smoke in Third North courtyard.
I know. That makes me very nostalgic. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Wow, that's crazy. So you're at Gallatin, obviously you're in this new city, and having a dance background is huge.
Mhm.
And what do you do then? Because I know Gallatin is you create your own curriculum, and I think it's like a minimum of 14 credits. So then were you able to incorporate acting into to your individualized study or no?
You know, I decided that I didn't want the acting classes that Gallatin had, to be quite honest, were not that compelling to me.
Yeah.
And I'd found this amazing teacher named Jennifer Gelfer, who she's my person. She's my teacher. She's the person that sort of taught me everything I know about acting.
Yeah.
And it felt really just like um, the luckiest thing ever, because you know how hard it is to find a class
Yeah.
and a teacher and a technique that feels cohesive and feels
Right for you.
yeah,
Yeah.
feels like it, like that's not an organ reject. There, it's, you can have organ rejects with
Totally.
so it was just like the perfect class at the perfect time, and I learned so much. It was a scene study class with working actors that were much older than me. I was the youngest in the class by
How did
far.
you discover it?
So going back to when I was in LA, when I was taking adult ballet classes, there was this actor named, he probably won't remember me. His name was Manny Ortega, and he was an actor, and he was watching me dance, and he said, "Are you an actor? You should really act." And I was like, "No, but I'm ready to explore this now." And he said, "Come to
Yeah.
this acting class." And he told me to come to Jocelyn Jones, was the name of the teacher. And so I skipped I was a really good student, Ryan.
Yeah.
And the appointment that Jocelyn gave me was at the same time as my psych AP, which I could
Wow.
have had credit for. And instead of, I don't know why it didn't occur to me to cancel or to say, can we reschedule? I have this really
Yeah.
important test. I just skipped the AP to go
I did
to
something
go
similar
meet
in
her.
high school. That's awesome.
Really?
Yeah.
It was very unlike me. I remember being like, what am I doing? This is insane. Um, and I met her, and she was like, well, join the class. She said very nice things that I didn't exactly trust because she'd never seen me act before. And I went and watched the class, and it was like adults. I was still a teenager, and they
Yeah.
were doing stuff on the stage that I was like, I can do that, but eventually, like I
Yeah.
need a year. I'm still in high school. What I just like, and now I can finally drive by myself. Like it just felt I wasn't ready yet. So I
Yeah.
called her when I moved to New York and said, I'm ready to try acting. Do you have a teacher that you could recommend me? And she said, yep, Jen Gelfer. And then that was how I found her.
That's so
So
serendipitous. I love that.
it was so lucky. I'm so grateful. And I'm still very close with Jen. She's a mentor and a good friend.
So when freshman year started, did you enroll in that class like right away?
Yeah, yeah. I think Halloween was my first class, and all the other classes I took were sort of tangentially related to acting. I'm really curious about people,
Yeah.
and why we are the way that we are. And I think something that was so great about Gallatin and that it's interdisciplinary meant that one class was never just about one class. It was a topic seen through as many different perspectives as you could feasibly fit into a semester. And that meant learning so much about so many different things and thinking in a way that I think is actually similar to an acting brain, where
Yeah.
you need to be able to relate to things that are maybe completely foreign to you,
Totally.
but you find a way in. And that's sort of what interdisciplinary study does. You're able to find a way in to a subject, to really interrogate it from
Yeah.
lots of different perspectives. And I was able to do that with amazing professors and really smart kids. And all of the classes were Socratic. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like lectures, it was all conversation based, which I really enjoyed. And it was just a really fortifying experience for me. And I find now in my adult life, I need to be learning in order to feel okay in myself, in order to
Yeah.
know myself. And it's once you graduate from college, once you graduate from school, period, we have those of us that have the luxury of being in school. You find that your identity is so wrapped around that structure. And if you don't have
Oh, that
implement for
transition is
yourself,
so hard,
and if you don't prioritize learning and teaching yourself things, you just won't.
Yeah.
So I'm figuring out how to do that in my adult life now.
Yeah, I think we all are, that's so beautiful. And while you were there, I'm curious, when you started that class, having come from dance for so long, were you
Mhm.
super intimidated by monologue and scene work? Was that like nerve wracking for you, or did you, your that, young confidence, did you just go for it?
I think I was nervous as all hell. I remember being like shaking nervous. But then the first scene I did was Speed the Plow. It was a David Mamet,
Oh,
a scene from David Mamet's play, Speed the Plow. And me and my scene partner got it completely wrong. Like, did not understand. I'd never read David Mamet before. I didn't
yeah.
understand that it's quick. And um, but we like really committed to what we were doing. And I remember going on stage and just a calm coming over me and feeling totally transported and just fiercely happy and fulfilled. So
Yeah.
I wasn't super intimidated. I felt like I could do it.
And I know one of the toughest thing about any acting class in any city can be whether you get along with the people or not. Did you find your tribe there?
You know, some there are certain actors from that class that I will be in touch with forever.
Yeah.
But I was so much younger than most of them. And I was still in college, so I wasn't auditioning actively. They were all working actors.
Wow.
Um, and so it was I didn't go there to make friends. I really went there to learn. So I wasn't
You're so
um
mature. You're so smart. You're gonna be so huge. I love it.
that's very
Yeah.
nice of you to
Yeah.
say. But
Yeah.
that was intuitive. I think it also came from dance. It's very cutthroat, it's very competitive.
Yeah. I guess that did give
And
you that backbone, if this
yeah.
is how it's meant to be done.
Oh yeah, like but that doesn't take away from the joy that I had. Every scene that I did with every person, I became very close with. It's so intimate.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like hanging out with people. I never went for drinks after class ever. I never did that. I never. They would go, and I just didn't want to. I wanted that to be like a sanctified, safe space for me to work, and I didn't want any because actors like to sleep together, and
Yeah.
I just didn't want any of that.
No, it's funny, it's so funny, and beautiful that you went to Gallatin, because outside of me and my friend Rachel Brosnahan, who's on Maisel,
Mm,
you know, there's not that many people still going for it. And I think like Tish, like, I'm always honest about NYU on here. Like, they break you down. And
oh God,
most of the people that I went to school with, like, started so into it, and by the end they were out. And
I
I
heard
had I had
that.
that opposite thing where I hated it, and I came back, and I'm an addict. I didn't get sober, so I really didn't get serious
Mm.
till later. But yeah, that's so beautiful that you went there. I'm so glad you had that experience. But back to the socialization elements, then, were you staying away from that whole party NYU cliche even at college, or did you have fun? Because like a lot of people I know go to Gallatin have a hard time making friends because it's so individualized. There's
Mm.
NYU in general is a really tough college to make friends at.
Mm. That's so interesting. I think I was pretty lucky. Some of my actually, with the exception of a few people, my closest friends now from school I met my freshman year,
Wow.
and in Hayden, we all lived in Hayden. It was
You went
really
to the best
lucky.
dorm. Everyone
It
was
was
so
really lucky,
yeah.
and so we we definitely had fun for sure, and we would have go to parties, and I had a fake ID and
Oh
that got
man.
taken away.
I had
And I like,
seven. One survived.
really?
I think I
That's
must have spent like
insane.
$2,000 on fake IDs.
Oh God, that's a
Yeah.
travesty.
Yeah.
I had my first one got taken away, the fat black cat,
Oh
and
yeah.
then
They're ruthless
they're
there.
ruthless. I was like,
Yeah.
dude, come on, just let me
Yeah.
come in, and he wouldn't. But my second one that I got that worked was a British. It was an English ID
Oh, and you
that
you
I
have an English tutor vibe about you.
that so I and in oh I actually probably I don't know that I want to share that story, but
We can cut it if you want.
um It doesn't matter. But,
Okay.
but basically, I would go in with my British friend Andrew, and I would have to put on this British accent when I would show and it was very fun, and it always worked. So it was great.
That's so genius.
So, but I think I had a pretty tame experience in college, honestly, for the most part.
Yeah. I had the opposite, and that's why you're so much further in your career than me.
Hey, you've got stuff to pull from though, right?
Yeah, too much.
Good for you for being sober. That's huge. How long have you been sober?
If I make it to December 3rd, 5 years.
You will make it till December 3rd, one day at a time, right?
Yeah, totally. I appreciate that.
That's a really big accomplishment.
Yeah, it's not easy, especially during this whole, craziness.
Oh man,
but
absolutely.
So while you started to get along into your sophomore and junior year, then did the, agent thing, maybe someone from class be like, hey, I know this person, or did you also kind of diligently be like, I'll worry about that when I graduate?
I was desperate to be cast in something to be pulled out of school. That was what I wanted. I wanted to book a movie and then have to leave school to just go act. And that didn't happen, which it wasn't meant to happen. I did not pursue an agent until after school. So my first job that I got was a film called Blind. And my teacher, Jennifer Gelfer, who I was telling you about, she was working with Michael Mailer, who was the director of Blind, who Michael at this time was producing a film called Showing Roots.
Yeah.
And Jen really believed in me and said, I just want you to meet this student who I think has a really promising future. I think that you should just meet her. So we met. And from our meeting, he said that he wanted me to make a tape and audition for the lead of this film, Showing Roots, which I did. It was my first ever self-tape. And I made the tape, and he wrote me back and was very enthusiastic and said that he sent it on to the other producers, and it didn't end up going any further. But from that tape, he offered me the role that I ended up playing in Blind, which was the film that he directed. And that film sort of gave me legs to go approach agents and managers to say, I'm in a film with Alec Baldwin and Demi Moore, and I act with both of them.
Alec Baldwin was my teacher at NYU.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that he taught.
He did one class, and all of Tisch auditioned, and he chose 12.
And you were one of them.
Yeah. I still talk to him to this day. Yeah.
How wonderful. What kind of a class was it?
It was a master acting class. And and it was first we did monologues, and then we did 2 different scenes that they chose for us, and paired us with different people. And actually now I'm going to contradict myself. Just about everyone in that class is still going for it, but most of us didn't know each other before, I see. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's cool. But that's so amazing. Then, so did you ever have to do the one-on-one actors connection thing, or no?
I didn't do that. But what I did do was EPAs before any of this. I would.
You were equity already?
No. I would go to the EPAs I would go to the equity building at like 6 a.m. Oh yeah. I would go from Brooklyn. I would wake up at like 4:45.
Yeah.
Get on the train, show up, put my name down as hoping that someone wouldn't show up, and go wait in that little room. Do you know what I'm talking about? Off to the side. So I did that probably 5 times until I realized it was just futile. They weren't going to see me.
Yeah, they're such dicks about it.
But it's like paying your dues, I really wanted to audition, and I remember you feel so nervous the whole time because you have either a scene or a monologue, and you're saying it in your head over and over again, hoping that you'll get to go. And it's just this like pent up energy that goes nowhere.
Yeah.
So I did that, but I didn't do the one-on-ones. I don't know why I didn't. I just
better that way. It's a scam. I mean, I've met some.
That's
good people
what
out
I've
of
heard.
It. Yeah.
I think my teacher was kind of like, she didn't believe in them, and so I trusted her, and so I didn't go for it.
you found a good rep that you felt a connection with?
Yeah, I found my first manager named Monica. She really believed in me, and that was with Authentic Management.
Okay, yeah.
Um, and she started me out, and we worked together for how long? Uh, 3 years, 4 years
Wow.
maybe, and then um signed me to Stewart Talent. Um, and
Stuart's
so I
great.
yeah, they were wonderful, and I worked with them, and then I booked Sweetbitter with that team. Um, and then that was the beginning. That was my first ever TV job.
And a huge one, like one
Yeah,
of, yeah.
it was exciting. It was
Who
crazy
cast
to
that again? Was
that
that
that was Laura Rosenthal.
oh Laura's, yeah, she's at
She's amazing.
what's it? I can't remember her company, but yeah, she's great. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's wonderful.
That's so fun. And did you know the book or did you read it before the audition?
Oh, I no, I had heard of the book. I had not read it, but the pilot was so evocative to me. Like
Yeah.
it completely encapsulated. So when I auditioned for Sweetbitter, the restaurant that I was working in the East Village, Cafe Orlin, was about to close.
Yeah, one of the
And
best.
it was great. And I worked there
Yeah.
through school, and I loved it. And the night before
Serving.
serving, yeah, I was a
Oh, so you
waitress.
had the real experience.
Oh, definitely.
Because
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
some people in the show, no offense, you can tell they've never waited a
Yeah,
table there.
definitely. We were a motley crew, but I
Yeah.
definitely had paid those dues.
Yeah.
And I had my last shift at this restaurant the night before my callback for the show, and I was like,
Was
shit, I
it,
have to.
because like we're in such a weird time. Was it in person or self
Oh
tape?
yeah, no, it
Yeah.
was in person, which was I so prefer
Me
being in
too.
person.
God, I hope it comes
I've
back.
Me too. I've never
Yeah.
booked a thing off of tape before,
I,
and
I
like
I feel like they don't even look at them anymore. Like
I
even if
hope
you
it's not
didn't
true,
get
but who
it,
knows?
like at least you got to go in the room. They got to see you,
Yeah,
and
you get
like
to connect with
yeah, and
someone.
they had to watch it. You know what I mean? Like
Uh-huh.
to some degree, But now it's just like I hear they get more tapes and they watch
Oh,
five
it's
seconds
insane.
and they're so it's just like oh
It's very demoralizing. I
yeah
think that we have to think of them as opportunities for us to act, even though it
yeah.
often doesn't feel like acting because you're looking at a spot on the wall because you can't read with anyone, and
Yeah.
you know. Um,
So you guys shot the pilot and it wasn't picked up to series yet,
no, no,
right?
no. It was actually straight to series.
Oh wow, I didn't
Yeah,
know
yeah,
that. So what
yeah.
was that ride like?
It was insane. First time doing TV. Like Plan B was producing it.
Hashtag Brad Pitt.
Yeah, Richard Shepard,
Yeah.
Stephanie Danler, the writer. The book was unbelievable. The pilot was so good. I read it and I was like, I know who Ari is. I know who all these people are. I totally
Well, and
understand this
you
world.
kind of, to the to Ella's character, moved to New York to pursue your thing, So it's such an iconic relation.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's just very relatable. And it was the most fun ever. Like the cast got on so well. We all loved each other. I
Which is
learned
so rare, to have that
I didn't,
chemistry.
I had no idea. I had no idea how
Yeah.
lucky we were because I've been spoiled, honestly. In my career so far, I've been completely spoiled with the people that I've worked with because we're just going to be friends for a really long time
Yeah.
if I'm lucky.
That's so
Um,
awesome.
yeah, it was really great. I learned a ton. It was amazing working with Paul Sparks, who I think is a brilliant actor,
Yeah, he's one of
and
my
same,
favorites.
yeah, yeah,
That's the career I'm going for. The pulse.
definitely.
Yeah,
He's always working and always he's a character actor, but he's also a leading man.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm curious. Then, do you feel like in some ways that show was your hybrid film school, drama school?
That's very interesting. I feel like I got really good training in my acting class that I
Yeah, I guess
took.
so. Yeah.
Um, like really good. I did Chekhov and Shakespeare, and
Did you
I
do on
wanted to do the
camera?
classics. No, no, I didn't. Um, I didn't do on camera. I took a Bob Krakauer on camera class. That was through One-on-One,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
He's now departed that venture.
I would imagine so.
Yeah.
He was great. He was very
Yeah.
funny. That was the one on camera class that I took, which sort of taught you to like never put your shoulders this way, to always be on an angle and never move this way, but to move front and back, whatever.
Yeah.
Which was very helpful. Like there are things that feel very elemental and basic, but are helpful. But no, I learned so much about camera, being on camera with Sweetbitter, and just the way that you make something. Yeah. I didn't know any of the jargon. I didn't know
coverage, so to speak.
Coverage, like being able to figure out a scene in coverage. And it took a while to sort of get into the rhythm of things. And I remember feeling like a fish out of water, but Danny R., who played Sasha, it was also his first big thing. So it was actually a lot of our first big thing. Jasmine Matthews as well. Yeah. So we were all sort of in it together, and could normalize nerves that we were having.
Tom and Ella that had careers already.
And Caitlin
and Paul. Yeah.
And Caitlin, hugely. I look up to her so much and learned a lot from her.
She's doing Succession now and had that movie, right? You know?
Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Very, very smart person.
And so once you started to have these incredible credits and you were reoccurring on the show, and given that your family's in LA, was there kind of a fundamental reevaluation of, do I want to build it up in New York, or, because most people that succeed in LA have credits. Did you think about going back? Like, where was your head at?
Not for a second. Wow. I don't like LA.
Me either.
I'm a New Yorker. And I think I say that with just so much love. I've lived there now for 11 years. And I think there's just something about the people in New York that LA lacks. I think. Yeah. And I would love to be able to be bi-coastal because my family's in LA and I'm very, very close with them. And I would totally work in LA. I would love to have that experience. I've just never done it before. Yeah. I remember auditioning in LA. I've only had maybe 2 auditions in LA ever. And one of them, casting director, got back to my manager and gave the note that I was really good, but that I was a character actress.
Oh God!
Which was like,
fuck you.
But I sort of took it almost as like a thank you. Like I walked into the room and there were, normally in New York, it's like an amalgam of different types of people, but like it's all like a type. You're all wearing sort of a similar thing. In LA, all these women were blonde and tan.
Lip
and like 5 of them, and no disrespect to, like, everyone should look however they want to look. And I totally support that. But I walked in and I was like, I don't look like you guys.
Yeah.
Like, and if that's what they're going for, then I'm going to be not what they're looking for. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that it'll be interesting to see if I'm able to find my way to LA in a way that feels sort of right. We'll see.
Yeah, that's amazing then. And speaking of C, well, first let's finish Sweetbitter. So you do the first season, and at that time there is a question mark about whether you guys are going to have season 2 or not, right?
Right. Yeah.
And so where was your, did you start looking for other work? Because were you already contracted to a second season?
Yeah, because I was a series regular, I had like a 7-year contract. So they had me. And so my team, and because that was my one big credit.
Yeah.
And the show wasn't a huge hit. My team had
the people who knew about it. I loved it.
The people who I really appreciate that. Yeah. But it wasn't like critically acclaimed and
well,
whatever.
A hyper saturated content time. Nothing.
I agree. I loved the show, and I think I feel very proud of it. And it was a great experience for me, and I would not have changed it or given it up for the world.
Yeah.
But because I was
Stars had power, which had 5 million people a second watching.
Right. Yeah. It was hard for my team to get me auditions. And I remember I was very frustrated that year in between because I really wasn't auditioning.
Yeah.
And
were you still in the acting class?
No, the acting class had ended at that point. She'd
Wow.
stopped class. Yeah. So I was sort of, I actually, and then I found other acting classes. I tried to keep myself engaged, but I didn't find any that
You
really
responded
gave me
to.
what I
Yeah.
needed. Yeah. I needed like a gym to just go
Yeah.
work out in kind of. And
Totally. So
I
hard to
didn't,
find.
it's really hard to find.
Yeah.
And I'm still looking, I would love to find an acting class where I can go and stretch myself and make a fool of myself and learn and um, try weird things. That would be really exciting to me.
Do you know Ted
So
Slabensky?
I've heard of him.
He's the
I've never
best.
taken,
I'll have to
really?
intro
Okay.
you guys. Yeah. Yeah. He's
I
got
would
a good
love
one.
that.
That's Rachel's
Okay.
guy in my guy when I can afford him.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. He's the best.
Very cool.
Yeah.
When I'm back in New York, maybe I can meet
Yeah.
him.
We'll have to hang. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh, I would
Yeah.
love that.
But so then I guess did it buoy you to know that there was the potential of a second season? Like how long was the gap before you found out?
I think it was felt like a really long time. Um, and we weren't getting a lot of information in the interim. So that was a hard, weird period. I'd never been in a situation where I felt like I had anything
Yeah.
to rely on.
Yeah.
And I thought when I booked the show, I was like, I'm done waiting tables. I've made it. And like,
Totally.
jokes on me. So we got picked up. I was so happy. We did the second season. It was very clear pretty much from the get-go that we weren't going to have a third season.
Even though they wrote it with like that, ending of for a third.
Yeah, or maybe I'm misremembering. I remember towards the end of the season feeling like Stu Zickerman, our amazing showrunner, being kind of like, guys, you need to really temper your expectations. Like,
Oh,
who knows? Like, we really love the show. Star says they love the show, but we don't know. You know how they do.
yeah. Yeah.
So I was very much like, time to look for something else,
Yeah.
whatever. And took a while. It took a while, and I ended up changing teams.
I was gonna say
I
that's the good time to flex up then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I hired the manager who I have now. I'm with Brillstein. I'm actually I'm with Ken Lee,
Yeah.
who's
Ken's the best. He's a friend.
Rachel's
Yeah. Yeah.
manager.
Tell
Yeah,
tell
yeah.
Ken I said.
And he said Ryan's such a good guy when he saw that I
Oh,
was doing
really?
this.
That's so
Yeah,
funny.
yeah. He's very
I'll have to
fond of
send him a
you.
message to be like, well, how good of a guy am sign me?
There you go. Do it.
Yeah.
Play your
Ken Lee,
cards.
I'm calling you out. But that's awesome. So then when you do that, then and this thing is ending, is it at that point, having the awareness of that? Is there an excitement, a fear? Like where is your head at? Knowing that
I've Sorry, go ahead.
knowing that it's time to find something else, you know what I mean? Like that can be very daunting and it can also be very exciting.
I think that I had felt that I was really sad. I loved the characters so much.
Yeah.
I loved the people that I did the show with so much, and it felt like a real like losing a family in a way,
Yeah.
which was very upsetting and triggering. And I just never experienced that before. I'd never
Yeah.
experienced that. Yeah, and it was
It's the
upsetting to
same when a
me.
play ends. You're just like, it's like mourning a
I would
death.
imagine
Yeah.
so.
It's so
Yeah.
sad.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
and it, and you just know it's never going to be the same again. I'm still in touch with Ella and Danielle and Evan, and we talk, and
Yeah.
it's lovely, but it's different. So what I actually ended up doing, because it was taking a while, I realized I was going nuts, not having structure. I knew that I needed money.
Yeah.
And so I went back to waiting tables.
Wow. Back
And
at the new cafe Orlin or somewhere
no,
totally.
I went to Mud Spot
Oh,
in the
on
East
Ninth?
Village. Yeah.
Oh man, that's great.
I love Mud. So I was like a regular at Mud through college. And
Yeah.
then one of my best friends worked there. And so I
Wait,
knew
so
all
you
the
know
people that
Hayden
worked there.
Frank?
I knew Hayden.
Yeah.
Hayden served when I was going there, but I didn't
Got
work
it.
with him or anything.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I went back to Mud, or I went to Mud and started working there. And it was like the best thing that I've done. It was
Really?
yeah, I made new friends. I speak French and Spanish, and I love speaking both of the languages. And I got to
Yeah.
speak French and Spanish every day. I speak Spanish with the chefs, and
Yeah.
I would speak French with the people that would come in that were French and
Yeah.
had bad English. And And it was a really odd experience because I was working there while the second season was airing. And so people would recognize me as I'm serving them and be
Yeah.
like, wait a second, aren't you that waitress on the show? And I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm
And
in
they're like,
character, you know?
yeah. They're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, well, actresses do sometimes wait tables to
And it
support
doesn't
themselves.
pay what you think until you.
No, exactly. So it was a very dissonant experience, but I made friends with people that I'll be friends with forever. And like,
Yeah.
and I just know, and I think it's so important for actors to know that they have something that they can do to support themselves, to keep themselves grounded, to keep themselves engaged in a community. And that was a very cushy job because we could eat on the job, and Jimmy, the manager, like if someone was rude to you, you didn't have to take it. You didn't
Yeah.
have to, you really had personhood
Oh
in a
God,
way
I've
that
waited tables where you just have to be the small guy so
eat
they
it.
can be big.
No, you don't
And
have
I
to at Mud.
hate that, you
Oh,
know?
it's taking abuse. It's
Yeah.
terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. I've quit pretty much every hospitality job because of it, you know? It's just
Yeah, it
like,
makes sense. You get treated like shit.
like the people I know that can do it, you know, I mean, Sweetbitter captures like there's tons of drugs and alcohol in the hospitality sector, and
Yep.
I don't have that anymore. So when it's like that, I'm like, you know what, this ain't worth it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that totally makes sense.
So then while you were there, you know, and having this new wonderful team, were you getting into some other CDs and other radars that you weren't before?
Definitely. Yeah. I started auditioning. I booked a lead in an indie feature that I shot called Listen, that I don't actually know where it is right now as far as a rollout or anything.
Yeah, I saw it on there and I couldn't find it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's an Israeli film, written and directed by Omri Bezalel, who is Israeli, and it's about an IDF soldier, who I play, who basically, to not give too much away, she has a mission that she has to work on, or that she decides she needs to work on, which is extremely, extremely personal to her,
Yeah.
and will cost lives. And
Where did you shoot it, if you, or can you not
we
say?
no, absolutely.
Yeah.
We shot it in New Jersey.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I was
Looks nothing like Israel. It was a lot of
Yeah.
interiors.
Got it. Okay.
But it was a really great experience. It was a chance for me to. I'd done another film that I was the lead of called The Second Son, which actually Jennifer, my acting teacher, directed. It was a play originally,
Wow.
and we did it as a play, and then they adapted it into a film. And so I learned how to be a lead of something on that film, and then on Listen, I learned how to do it to an even greater extent because I didn't know anyone that I was working with.
Yeah.
And learned a different kind of endurance and intensity because the character is going through so much all the time. It was a very emotionally taxing, amazing journey to go on. And so, yeah, I did that. And then at the end of the year, I booked C.
Yeah, I'm
So that
curious.
was in a year.
Just before we get to see, you know, bringing it back full circle. Now that you had Ken, were you able to get in some theater, you know, auditions finally?
No, I went, there was a play that I wanted to do called The Mountains Look Different by an Irish playwright. I'm totally going to ruin his name, Michael McLemore.
Yeah.
I asked to be seen, and I guess the director didn't want to see me. I knew the director.
Yeah.
And so I showed up at the EPA.
Wow.
I was equity at this point. So I went to the EPA, and I knew the play inside and out because I loved it so much. And I practiced the dialect, and I went in, and Aiden, the director, I think recognized me when I came in, and I tore it up. I did a really good job. I had so much fun, and I knew, when you do the thing.
Totally.
And so I ended up getting a call back from that. But that was because I went to the EPA.
Yeah.
And then I got another call back, and then it was between me and this other really wonderful actress, and she ended up getting it.
And it probably got shut down though, right?
No. She got no. This was pre-COVID. Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
It meant that I was able to do Listen, the film that I did.
Wow.
So,
okay.
But yeah, I really want to do theater, and I'm desperate for casting directors to let me try because I
Well,
grew up on stage.
yeah.
It's very,
When
I
you
think
get
it's,
back, let's write a play together, and I'll use
I
some of
would
the
love
podcast
to.
actors to come.
Dude, let's do it.
It's the only way in, man.
Hmm.
Unless you went to Juilliard or you're a
Or Yale
celebrity.
or,
Yeah, it's
I know.
and then talk to me about C, because earlier, to kind of throw back, we were
Yeah.
talking about the death of in-person auditions, and obviously, I know Hoon, and he was telling me he got the job. So was this an
Yeah.
offer, or was this a self-tape?
Oh no. No, no. So this was in 2019. So this was in December of 2019.
Wow.
I had an in-person audition, first round, went in, um, and then got a call back with the showrunner, Jonathan Tropper.
Great guy.
Um, yeah, and
Yeah.
he read with me, and then that night, um, I got a call from Ken being like, Jonathan wants you for the role, but Apple needs to see you do some other sides to make sure that you have emotional range, which was hilarious to me because something that I struggle with in acting is like actors try to cry, people try not to cry, right? And
Dude,
and
Tim Robbins just talked about this very thing on this show,
oh really?
like verbatim. So go on. Yeah. Finish what you're going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just that we can be so masturbatory, and it's so uninteresting to just watch someone
So
break
true.
down.
Thank
You
you for
want
saying that. You're
It's true.
preach.
I feel like we like to watch people wrestle with themselves, and if you're gonna have a cry, you gotta earn it, man. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Or
I
it's more interesting to make the audience cry, and like you to be
oh
on.
let them have the
Yeah.
catharsis. Yeah, you
Yeah.
having the catharsis. It's like, who cares? And so I went in the next day and I was so nervous because it felt like it was mine to lose. Like Jonathan had said, you're my pick for this role. We're not seeing anyone else. Basically, if you fuck this up, like it's on you.
Yeah.
So we're like,
Oh,
and good
God.
luck.
Yeah.
So, but the casting director was amazing. And Jonathan was really great. And we did it. And about 2 hours later, I got a call that I'd booked the part.
Same day. Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And then
then
I was going to have to fly in 2 weeks and move to Toronto.
and then the COVID thing delayed it.
And then so that was January 20th. I moved to Toronto, or no, earlier than that.
Oh,
January
you
20th was the
did
first day
move.
yeah. So we shut down March 13th.
So you were about a month and a half in.
Yeah. We started
Yeah.
filming January 20th. Yeah. So we had started, and then we shut down.
And then what, do you do? Because I know Canada, even till just very recently, has been so strict. Did you stay there, or did you come back to New York?
Nesta Cooper and I, my amazing co-star, we both were, my family's in LA, her fiance and life is in LA. And so we booked a flight that day and flew out to LA. I knew I didn't want to be in New York, that I wanted to be near my mom and my
Yeah.
dad. And so we flew out that night and we were able to be there until we came back October 5th. So it was a really long shutdown.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
crazy. And obviously, with someone like, Momoa on a project and Batista, you knew it was
Yeah.
going to happen again, right? Or there wasn't a question of,
There was no question.
okay, that's great. Because I know a lot of people that didn't know if they were going to,
Oh, I could not believe how lucky I was to be in the position I was in, to be on a show with that kind of budget, with those kinds of name stars, just with security.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did that make navigating through COVID a little bit easier, knowing you had something
Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it was such an insane time for so many reasons. And I think the world is at a fever pitch right now. It feels like it's just getting worse and worse and worse in a lot of ways.
It's just, I can't even watch the news anymore. It's just now with Afghanistan, it's just like, my God,
Yeah, it's relentless. It's
Yeah.
relentless. But that was a facet of my life that I had security in, and I felt so fortunate for that.
That's beautiful. And so then when you came back, how did that feel? Because obviously now you're, masked up and everything's, the intimacy that's normally allowed on a set. Now it's like, I can't be with those people. Got to be over here.
Right.
So was that weird working that way,
It was in the beginning, and then it became status quo. Like, I don't
Yeah.
notice it anymore. I feel really lucky that before the pandemic hit, I was able to have a couple months to bond with the cast in a normal way, because, they had shot a first season. They were a family already. And I didn't
Yeah.
know if I was going to mesh with them, if they were
Yeah.
going to be welcoming to me. And if they were so welcoming. Alfre Woodard, who to me is just an iconic legend as an actor, as a human being, like,
Yeah.
oh man, she's just, as an activist, she there's nothing she can't do. And she's also happened to be the matriarch of the family, and she would
Yeah.
have all of us over for lunches on Sundays and would screen
Oh,
movies. And so I got to connect with them. And then when I came back, I felt like I had relationships with these people and didn't feel so
the new kid at a
alien to
new
them.
school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it felt
That's
more like I was a part of the show.
and obviously, Sweetbitter School and Stars is a big network, but to be on a show of this scale, like Game of
Oh,
Thrones scale, what did that feel like?
I
Or
mean,
what does it feel like? Is it still
it
going on?
it's unlike anything I've ever dreamed of. I mean, the sets, they built the set. I think I can say this. They built Travantes, which is this city,
Yeah.
in this place called the Hearn in Toronto, which is this massive old. It's like a warehouse, but that
Wow.
doesn't even describe it. It's like, it's this industrial sized, really, yeah, warehouse. It's very open, it's very damp, it's an icky place, but they made the most intricate set I've ever seen, with stalls of for different vendors that all were specific to a world where everyone can't see.
Yeah.
Like, and I felt completely and utterly transported, and I felt so small as
Yeah.
a person compared to the massive scale of the sets and the massive scale of what we were doing. I've never had so many resources on a show. It's
Yeah.
really insane.
And it does that work of kind of assimilating you in that world because it's there,
In a way, definitely. I
Yeah.
think costume is huge. I think you sort of know with a show like this that has such a strong visual tone that a lot of your work is already done for you, because it's so moody, and the camera angles are so specific, and the music is so swelling and evocative, that there's an atmosphere and an ambience all you need to do is kind of show up and try to be grounded, as
Yeah.
grounded as you can be. And I've never really had that experience before. Sweetbitter had definitely a vibe to it, a feel to it, but the character of Ari, she's just so expressive and over the top. And
Yeah.
the character that I'm playing, Ren, I'm not going to say too much, but she's not like Ari, is what I'll
Yeah.
say.
I know what you mean. And going back, to all the wonderful dance and choreography experience you have doing this stunts, that was something new for you, right? Because
Yeah.
that's not giving anything away. Anything of season one shows you it's
Oh, definitely.
and any of
Very,
Jonathan's work is like that. So
he
did
loves
you get
fighting.
to
Yeah.
work with a stunt coordinator?
Oh yeah. We had to have an amazing stunt team, stunt crew. It was my first time ever touching stunts, and I had to unlearn basically my 17 years of dance training, because in fighting, you're in your legs, you're heavy, you're grounded, you're
Yeah.
turned in, everything's brutal. And in ballet, you're lifted, everything needs to look light and effortless, and it's turned out. And so all of the natural things that my body does look wrong
Wow.
while fighting. And I think Jonathan was kind of like, because when I got the job, there was no conversation about, do you have experience doing stunts? Are you comfortable doing stunts? That was not mentioned.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was getting myself into.
Yeah.
And so they expected, oh, you're a dancer, you'll just be fine, you'll learn it with no problem. And I pick up choreography very quickly, but it was a huge challenge for me to learn how to move in a different way. And me and Nesta would show up to the stunt team. They're all like Olympic athletes. They're these insanely gifted human beings.
Yeah.
And we would join their training sessions, like the workout that they would do to keep themselves fit.
Yeah.
We would crash. I couldn't do a quarter of what they were doing.
Yeah.
And we would every day it'd be mixed martial arts. We'd do judo throws one day. We learned how to use a samurai sword. So it was sort of this like crazy circus summer camp where Nesta and I got to learn lots of different mixed martial arts, dabble really. I mean, you can't master, it takes a whole lifetime to master these things. But it really helped my physicality, and they were so patient and welcoming, and now it's really fun and I really enjoy it, but it took a while. It's such an important part of this character. And I really wanted to be as great as I could. And they had me next to Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
Who, is Dave Bautista.
Yeah.
So
well, you're so amazing in the show, and you're doing such an outstanding job. And
thanks, Ryan.
So awesome. And I'm so proud of you. You're a
superstar.
And when you come back to New York, we got to kick it and write our Broadway debut.
I would love that.
Yeah. So
thank you so much.
A few final questions for you, because I don't feel like we can say much about C since the world hasn't seen it yet. So
yeah,
maybe at the end of the season, come back and we'll do a recap.
That would be awesome.
Eden, I'm so proud of you. Let's do this again. This was so fun.
I really appreciate that.
You're incredible. You're so talented, so beautiful. You're gonna go so far. Keep doing what you're doing. I'm so proud of you. And yeah, let's rock in New York, man.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
This was such a pleasure. Thank you.
I'm sending you so much love, and take care up there in Toronto. Okay.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Talk soon.
Okay. Talk soon.